Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Marty Ross, and this is another one of our conversations with Marty Ross MD. It's good to be here tonight with everyone. I enjoy doing these webinars immensely, and I also like helping people with this illness, this thing that we call Lyme disease. The way the webinar works is you get to create it with your questions, and I get to respond with my answers, obviously. And I would say that none of these webinars are the same. During the webinar tonight, if you want to write a question to me, there is a chat box down at the bottom of the right-hand side of your screen. Write your question there. When you write it, please don't hit enter until the question is done, even if you have to write it as a run-on paragraph, okay? The other thing is the briefer the question, the easier chance I'm going to have getting through it. And realize that your questions I will post on the screen for everyone to see tonight. And but if you happen to be watching the video recording of this, you will not see those questions. They only show up during the live presentation, okay? So I will read each of the questions as well, too. So I am doing a video recording of this tonight. So tomorrow, if you can't remember exactly what I talked about, or if you need to hear it again, I will send you an email link to the recording. I usually get that done first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'm not able to, but I suspect I will be able to tonight unless something comes up tomorrow for me. So look for that email in the morning. I will sending it out to the email that you signed up for the webinar, okay? The other thing about the webinar tonight is I will be sharing with you resources from the Treat Lyme book, which, as many of you know, is the resource that I've written that provides you many pieces of information that you can use to either improve your care, give your provider health ideas, and describes a lot of supplements you can use to help with this illness, but also describes drugs that you can use as well too. So feel free to take a look at that later. I will be referring to it a number of times in the webinar tonight, okay? So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take the first question here. Oh, the other thing is I see many new faces here tonight. I'm glad to see that. And there are a number of people that are coming back again and again. And I'm glad to have you here as well tonight, too. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, this first question is from Jim. Let's see, I've been experiencing air hunger, weakness, random chills with no sweats. I was treated with cat's claw, Ceftin, and Spermectol for 2 months, then with the Linea and Ceftin for 3 to 4 months. I am on Doxy and Cowden protocol since I'm currently trying to get rid of Candida. I get weird rashes on my side and forehead. And then there's a second part to this question. Let me try to find that. There it is. The rashes, excuse me, the rashes look linear, but not like stretch marks. Should I be concerned that my Babesia was not treated long enough? Or do you think this is Bartonella causing my air hunger and random chills? Okay, so Jim, I'm not quite sure whether you have Bartonella or not. There's not enough here for me to say that, but let me just go through. I do wonder actually about Babesia with you. So the symptoms that can indicate Babesia are sweats, night sweats predominantly, temperature dysregulation, which is your hot 1 minute, cold the next minute, okay? Some people with Babesia will have air hunger. Sometimes people will have racing or skipping of the heart. You can have headaches. Often people with Babesia will have frontal headaches up in this area or migraines. And then sometimes people with Babesia will have nasal congestion or coughing. And then finally, the more interesting symptom that I think people have is that sometimes people with Babesia will have frequent deja vu experiences, okay? So look and see if you have a number of those symptoms. Regarding whether you were treated long enough, in terms of what you've been treated with so far, and if this is a comprehensive list, I don't see that you have really been treated for Babesia that well. The Linea that you were on is an anti-parasite medicine that sometimes might help with Babesia, but when we treat Babesia, we need to treat for 4 to 5 months. The reason we need to treat that long is that's how long it takes to get Babesia out of our red blood cells, which is where it lives. Okay, And the Babesia, so a life cycle, how long a red blood cell lives after it's been made is about 3 months. So we want to treat longer than 1 month, one red blood cell life cycle. We need to bathe the new red blood cells as they're being born with the anti-Babesia medication, okay? Now, Alinea I will use. I don't find it to be that effective. I think it maybe is more around a 60% of the time medicine. Things that can work better for Babesia are Malarone, Mepron. Those work maybe about 80 to 85% of the time. There's some herbs that can work quite well. Artemisinin is one of those, another one called Cryptolepis. So there's other ways that you can treat Babesia, but I don't think you've been adequately handled for it. And the Cowden protocol, I think, is extremely weak when it comes to looking at Babesia, okay? So I'm going to show you an article here in a second where you can look at all the ideas and recommendations I have for treating Babesia. There's quite a number of them. I don't want to go into detail on those tonight because you can read about that more later, and it'll give me a chance to answer some more of these questions here too. And then finally, about the rashes. When somebody does have yeast, for some reason, and I have never seen a really good explanation of this, when people have yeast, often they will get skin rashes, or their underlying rash problem can get worse. And a big thing you will see sometimes when people have yeast is they actually develop acne, okay? So you start getting yeast too, all right? So just keep that in mind. I'm not sure without actually looking at that rash whether what you're describing is a Bartonella rash or it just may be that you're getting rashes on your skin from having too many yeast as well too. All right, so I'm going to do a quick screen share here to show you some resources that you might check out. And we're going to do that by looking at the Treat Lyme book. Okay, so here we are. We're in the Treat Lyme book. You'll find this at our main website or www.treatlyme.net. Okay, I'm in the table of contents right now, and that's probably the most useful way to search through the book is to see what I have organized into various chapters here, okay? The other thing you could do if you're looking for articles is you could click on the search index link over here, and then you can just type your question in, all right? But my preferred way, the way I like to flip through the book is to use the table of contents, okay? So in terms of where you would find information about how to treat any infection, any infection or germ that you might acquire as part of your Lyme disease would be to go ahead and look in this infection treatment plans section, okay? All right, and in here, so for instance, if you're looking for ways to treat your yeast that you have, click on the Kills Yeast, a brief guide article here, all right? For treating Babesia, take a look at the Kills Babesia, a brief guide article that I have here. The one thing I want to make sure that you know about treating Babesia or Bartonella or Lyme is that you need to do everything you can to boost your immune system. So make sure you're following the steps of our successful treatment recipe. That's the protocol I wrote for how you treat Lyme disease. It's a Lyme disease treatment guideline, okay? So take a look at that. That is free. That's actually not part of the Treat Lyme book. You can find it under this Lyme guidelines tab down here, okay? But you're going to see I've organized how to treat Babesia into different tiers. There's a tier 1 group, there's tier 2, and then there's something called tier 3. And in tier 3 is where I put Alinea. Alinea is this nitazoxanide, okay? And again, I don't find they work that well. I say 75% here, but it's not where I would go for initially for a Babesia treatment, okay? So you can take a look more at that later. So let me go back here. All right, so thank you for that question, Jim, and good luck to you. All right, so just so many of you know, you may have seen hopping around behind you some black tails and black fur here tonight. Those are my Basenjis. They come to work with me, and there goes one right there. You may have seen them hop around. They're getting a little restless. It's the end of my day, and they've been hanging out here with me today, helping with patient care. And so you may see them hopping around here tonight. You may even hear them. They've been getting a little noisy here tonight too. All right, so let me go ahead and take the next question here. So hello, Sue. Let's see. how do you feel about Lyme patients getting neck adjustments? I have no problem with Lyme patients getting neck adjustments. I assume you probably meet with a chiropractor. So the head you see over there is my boy Thor. That's Thor. Halos is running around here somewhere. So chiropractic neck adjustments, I don't find any precautions that you need to take because you have Lyme. Or if you do osteopathic physician neck adjustments, I don't see any problems from doing either one of those either. Okay. So anyhow, there you go. That's my response to that. Good luck to you, Sue. Thank you for that question. All right. Hello, Rose. Let's see here. Hello, Dr. Ross. Please explain the connection of seizures and Bartonella. My daughter has Lyme and Bart, and her seizures seem to have cycles. Nothing for a week, then 3 days of multiple seizures. Okay, I'd be glad to help you with that, Rose. So one thing you should be aware about seizures and Lyme or seizures and Bartonella, often they're not going to register at all when a neurologist does an EEG study. Okay, so EEG is the way that neurologists look at brainwave activity. They hook a bunch of wires up to your head and then they'll see what happens with electrical activity around the brain. Remarkably, I mean, I had people that look like they're having full-on ground mal seizures, the kind where you shake and jerk all over and you fall down, and nothing shows up on the EEGs. So what I like to describe, although we'll use the word seizures, I call them seizure-like disorder, okay? And they are very common that you'll see in Bartonella, and they can be very common in Lyme. But don't expect the neurologist to say, wow, it looks like you got a seizure disorder. They're probably going to say, because nothing shows up on their EEGs, often neurologists are going to say that this is in your head, that you're making it up, okay? So, which is wrong. I think it's due actually to a neurologic irritation that doesn't necessarily show up the way that we would see brainwave patterns show up when somebody has a seizure disorder, okay, a true seizure disorder. Not to say this isn't real, that's happening either, all right? Let's see, so Bartonella, so regarding Lyme can trigger seizures because it can involve the brain. You can get Lyme infection in your brain, okay? And in fact, anyone that has Lyme, it is in the brain. And there's studies that show that within about 2 weeks of getting your tick bite, that Lyme has already migrated into the brain. Now, that doesn't mean that for some people that they have a lot of manifestations of it involving the brain, but it is in there, okay? So Lyme can cause irritation of the central nervous system, the brain, which can trigger seizures. Bartonella can too. In fact, Bartonella, I find, probably has more ability to give irritation to the nervous system, resulting in those seizures, okay? Now, I will let you know that the typical anti-seizure medicines do not seem to help with these kind of seizures. And the treatment for these kind of seizures is get your Bartonella under control, get your Lyme under control, okay? That's the main way you want to focus on it, okay? Other things that you can do for the seizures would be to help calm that agitated nervous system down. One of the ways that you can do that is to help give an antioxidant found in every one of our cells, but found in large amounts within the nervous system, and that would be to use something called glutathione. Glutathione is the master reparative antioxidant that is found in every one of our nerves. I like using a product called Trifortify Orange, which is also known as liposomal fat-wrapped glutathione that helps get it absorbed. I would do 400 to 500 milligrams one time a day, which of the Trifortify Orange product is 5 milliliters one time a day. The other thing you might consider doing is something called lithium orotate. Lithium is a 5 milligram pill, and you would want to take 1 pill of that 3 times a day. Now, lithium, we also use in much higher doses for people that have manic depression and bipolar disorder. And we use it for those disorders. You take it at about 600 to 900 milligrams a day. But when you're using it to calm an agitated nervous system, like I'm suggesting, you wind up wanting to do 5 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay, so that's a supplement. It is not a prescription dose. Okay, and then Guys, stop. Stop over there, okay? Thor, lay down. Lay down. No, lay down. Lay down. I'm getting rambunctious Basenjis here tonight. All right, so I would do the lithium. I would do the glutathione, start healing those nerves. The other thing I would look at doing is to get on a supplement called NT Factor. NT Factor is made up of the fats that make up the nerve cell covering, so it can start repairing nerve injury from the outside. Glutathione repairs nerves from the inside. NT Factor repairs from the outside. NT Factor also is useful at repairing the energy factories found in every one of our cells called mitochondria, which also can get injured in these disorders as well too. The NT Factor, you want to start at 2 pills 3 times a day. And you do that for 2 months and then decrease it to 1 pill 3 times a day, okay? So let me show you some resources that you can look at later regarding what I have just said here. So I'm gonna do a screen share again. All right, so back here in the Treat Lyme book, I'm gonna look in our table of contents. There's a section on brain and nerves, okay? So here's an article about the lithium orotate that I was just telling you about. In terms of things you can do for seizures, where are we here? You might look at this article called Tremor Treatment to get some ideas. The other one would be to take a look at the article called My Brain Isn't Working, I Think, What Can I Do? Okay, there's a lot of ideas that I've just discussed for you that you can look at there, okay? So everyone, if you have not done so, if you click on one of these articles and you are not subscribed, you have not bought access to the Treat Lyme book, you will be asked to subscribe at that time. Take a look at your options. There's 3 options you can use. I encourage you to do it. The resources here in the Treat Lyme book, I've written them in a very practical way that you can use to help improve your care, okay? All right, then one last thing I want to show you. This is our supplement store, which is called Marty Ross MD, Terrabrook ND Supplements. Anytime I recommend a supplement tonight, many of you may be thinking, well, what's the best one that I can use? I want to let you know there's been numerous studies done looking at supplements you can find at the supplement store or in the supermarket. When independent research groups go and look at the majority of those products, what they put in them are not the most effective ingredients, okay? And in fact, some of those contain artificial fillers that might be harmful to a person with Lyme. So we've taken the guesswork out of it for you. We've looked at what are high quality products, those products that are known to source for the most active ingredient, and those products that do not have damaging artificial fillers for you, okay? So for instance, if you want to look up that Trifortify Orange or glutathione for that matter, if you just want to look up at what do we have for glutathione, just type it in here in the search box. And there it is. That's the Trifortify Orange I was just telling you about. If you want to look up that NT Factor, just type it in the box there. And again, we've got NT Factor actually in 2 products. My preference is this NT Factor Energy that I was just describing to you. Okay. All right. So there you go. Let me go back here again. And let me get myself up. Okay, there we go. So Rose, thank you for that question and good luck with everything that's happening with you here too. All right, next question is from Yolanda. Hello, Yolanda. Let's see, my doctor told me that in order to treat more aggressively, I have to open up my detox pathways. Is this correct? I am hetero for MTHFR C677T and currently taking Doxy, Cemento, Banderol twice per day. There is also other genes that showed up like the SODI2 and VDR TAC. Okay, so Yolanda, and anyone with Lyme, there are some basic things that you want to make sure you're doing for detox that everyone should do, okay? What happens when we kill Lyme germs, that causes a release of toxins that can be difficult to get out for some people with Lyme. In addition, a lot of these chemicals we're using are toxins as well too. What I have found in my practice is that the people that tend to have the hardest time recovering from this illness often will have difficulties with detox, whether they show up on a test or not, okay? The MTHFR that you describe here is a specific type of detox problem. And there can be many kinds of detox problems that people have, but there are only a limited number that we can actually test for. Let me describe the MTHFR defect first, and then I just want to talk about basic steps that anyone that has Lyme disease should be doing to help with detox, okay? So first of all, the master detox chemical that is used by the liver to remove fat-based toxins is something called glutathione, okay? And it's a downstream product. It's down here at the bottom, all right? Many chemical reactions upstream at the top of the river, all the way back up here, is a reaction where we need to be able to take diet folate, which is inactive, and we need to activate it. And the enzyme that activates it is called methotetrahydrofolate reductase, which stands for MTHFR, okay? There are two genes that we look at that govern that, two chromosomes or genetic material that we look at that govern that. One is the C677T, another one is called A1298C, all right? And each of those genes has a mom component and a dad component. When you have a defect in either the mom or dad component, we call that heterozygous, which is the hetero you referred to here. And if there's a defect to both parts, we call that homozygous. So when you look at the C677T and the A1298C, that means you can have 4 potential defects. And I find that even if you have a defect in one of those 4 parts, the mom part, dad part, that you get benefit for correcting for that. So this is, if somebody is having difficulty recovering from Lyme, I'm going to start doing testing and I'm going to look for an MTHFR defect. And if they happen to have one, I'm going to correct that by using activated folate and a methylated B12. I like to do that by taking something called MethylGuard, which is a product made by Thorne. It has both the activated folate and it has the methylated B12 as well too. You start at 1 pill 1 time a day, and if it does not flare you up, then you would increase it up to 2 pills 1 time a day. And in another 7 days, if it doesn't flare you up, you go up to 3 pills 1 time a day, okay? So that's how you correct a specific type of detox problem. Let me show you the steps that anyone should take in terms of just basic steps on detox, okay? So to do that, I'm going to show you an article, actually. All right, so I guess we didn't quite get to the article. Let me go there we are. All right, so I'm gonna go to our table of contents and I'm going to look at our chapter on detoxification, okay? And in this chapter, I've written an article called Lyme Detoxification 101, The Basic Steps, all right? Take a look at this article in greater detail later, okay? But the basic steps are, do not put toxins in, okay? So eat organic foods, all right? And make sure that you avoid being around toxic chemical fumes as well too, all right? The other thing you want to do is you want to support the liver to detox. And if you happen to be a person having some detox problems, that means at a minimum being on a multivitamin, like the Energy Infusion by Integrative Therapeutics that we recommend, 1 scoop a day, because it has many antioxidants that help the liver detox. But if you are having specific problems with detoxification, then what you want to do is support the liver by being on something called glutathione, okay? And I can say more about that here in a minute. The other basic steps that you want to do is make sure you're taking a lot of water. And the general rule of thumb for detox is that to take 1/2 of your body weight in ounces of water a day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to take 75 ounces a day of water, okay? The other thing you want to have in your diet, you want to have a lot of fiber in your diet because fiber binds up toxins in the intestines so they do not get reabsorbed. And foods that are rich in fiber include beans, legumes, whole grains, okay? Apples are great too, all right? Usually recommend that you get about 2 servings a day in of fiber. And a rough idea is whole grains like brown rice or oatmeal, the size of your fist, a clenched fist would be equivalent to 2 serving sizes, okay? In terms of then you want to do the basic building blocks, you want to build up glutathione. I talk about what to do for your MTHFR here. All right, and so in terms of the basic steps, in addition to water and diet that I just described, make sure you're on a good multivitamin. I would get on liposomal glutathione if you are a person having a lot of detox problems. And again, the product I like for that is Try Fortify Orange, 5 milliliters 1 time a day. Okay. So anyhow, there's the basic steps you should do for detox. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. Okay, so that is an article within the Treat Lyme book, and I just showed you the whole article, but if you want to read it in more detail, you also saw I had a video there, which actually I think is even more detailed than what I just described to you. Again, that's an article you subscribe for so you can read it, okay? All right, Yolanda, good luck to you. All right, let's see here. All right, this is a question from Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Let's see, I have terrible occipital headaches, deep ear pain that radiates into my face. I think that it is nerve pain. Over-the-counter does not relieve the pain. Tylenol #3 does not work either. How can I be sure this is from Lyme disease and not something else, such as neuralgia from compressed vessels, okay? So first of all, occipital headaches, which means headaches in the back of the head, everyone, are quite common in Lyme. Often they're going to be associated with cracking and popping in the neck too, okay? So just by the fact that you have it back there suggests to me that it actually is Lyme infection. The ear pain, somebody needs to look in your ear and make sure that you don't have a problem with the deep ear pain. Generally with occipital headaches and ear pain, I'm not going to do any special imaging. However, if they are really, really severe and nothing is helping them, then that's the type of situation where you might want to get an MRI done just to look in there. And I sometimes will wind up doing that. In terms of things you can look at for the pain, one thing is treat your Lyme and your Lyme infections, okay? But the other thing is there are unique sets of inflammatory chemicals that are made as part of having Lyme that you need to lower. And those are things that are not going to be helped with the typical over-the-counter medicines, okay? And so those chemicals are called cytokines. So cytokines, many of you have heard my webinars before. If you've read my Treat Lyme book, you know that I talk about cytokines often. So I'm just going to do a quick discussion of that, all right? So cytokines are inflammatory chemicals that are good and bad. They're made by white blood cells when white blood cells see a Lyme infection or any infection, a yeast infection too, for instance, okay? And what happens is white blood cells make cytokines. On the good side, that causes more white blood cells to be made. Cytokines draw the white blood cells to where the infection is, and they help white blood cells work better. That's all great, okay? The trouble is the immune system does not do a good job in Lyme, and eventually it makes too many cytokines in its attempts to get rid of the germ. And when you get too many cytokines, it makes it so you hurt, including your head pain, okay? Also, too many cytokines make it so you can't think. They disturb your sleep centers. They interfere with how your hormones work. So often you'll have problems with hormonal difficulties. They make you ache all over. Anyhow, I can go down the list of symptoms that we call Lyme disease symptoms, but what most of those really are excess cytokine symptoms, okay? So what do you do about cytokines? Well, you lower them. And one of the best ways to do that is to take an herb called curcumin. Curcumin is a component of the East Indian seasoning called turmeric, okay? And you take it as a 500 milligram pill, 1 pill 3 times a day. My product that I like for that is a product made by Thorne called Mariva 500. I like it because it is microscopically wrapped curcumin. It's wrapped in fat, and that helps increase the absorption of that curcumin, okay? So that's what I would do for your pain. I would look at doing that for the pain, see if that makes a difference for you as well too, okay? All right, good luck to you, Sarah. All right, hello, Sherry, let's see. Do you test your Lyme patients for the HPU, KPU, cryptopyluria, everyone? If so, what percentage of your patients do you find have this condition, and does treatment help chronic Lyme patients regain their health if they've been struggling with getting better? Okay, so I know that this is an issue that one of my colleagues out here in Seattle discusses quite a bit. His name's Dietrich Klinghardt. Many of you may be aware of him. You know, I don't find it actually, I know he talks about it, I don't find it to be a big issue in Lyme. And I don't test for it. Now, that doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's not part of the syndrome. But the reason I don't test for it is the way that you fix KPU and HPU is to give, excuse me, is to give some basic nutrients, okay? And so in terms of my treatments, I make sure that people are on a good multivitamin that has those essential nutrients in it, all right? And that multivitamin is something called the Energy Infusion by Integrative Therapeutics. It is the essential vitamin that I recommend to all my patients. And rather than testing for it, because I want somebody on these vitamins anyhow, because it helps with liver detox, it helps brain function, helps the immune system work better. I like to just get people on the Energy Infusion. It's 1 scoop, 1 time a day. And again, it's a product by Integrative Therapeutics. You can find it at our supplement store. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a quick screen share here because I want to show everybody. I've mentioned a number of things here tonight, and I want to talk about the essential steps you should do throughout your Lyme treatment because it addresses many of these problems that you're all raising here. Okay. So let me do that screen share. All right. So I'm back in our treatlyme.net site. I'm sitting right now in the Treat Lyme book, but I'm going to have you take a look at our Lyme disease treatment guidelines. Okay. So this is our Lyme disease treatment guidelines. It's called the Successful Treatment Recipe. And it basically lays out the steps you should do throughout your whole treatment, okay? These are the critical steps that I find to be the most important. It should be addressed throughout your Lyme treatment. Number 1, get sleep. Sleep restores your immune system. It also lowers those inflammatory chemicals called cytokines I just talked about. I give you some ideas on how to do that here. Number 2, lower your cytokines. Everyone with Lyme has too many cytokines, so just assume you have it, start lowering them. And I like the curcumin that I described earlier for that. Number 3, be on something that helps your body adapt to stress. And my favorite for that is an herb called ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an East Indian Ayurvedic herb. It is also used in Chinese medicine. It's been used for thousands of years in those medicines to help people deal with stress, and is found to give better energy, and it helps people adapt, okay? Number 4, see if you have a low hormone problem. And what I want to let you know about hormones is often testing will be normal for hormone problems, and you can't trust it. You've got to go more by the symptoms in this illness. We give you some ideas on how to address it, but to figure out if you have low hormones like adrenals and thyroid, take a look at the symptom list here. It'll give you an idea about that, okay? Be on essential micronutrients. This is how you deal with your KPU, HPU. This is how you deal with detox issues. And that is, I'd like you to take that Energy Infusion, 1 scoop a day. If you are medicine sensitive or have a lot of medicine allergies, use a product by Thorne called Mediclear. And that's 1 scoop 1 time a day on that too, okay? Number 6, get yeast out. If you have too many yeast in your intestines, they release toxins. They also trigger cytokines, okay? And there's a good chance at the beginning of treatment you might have too many yeast. To figure out if you do have too many yeast, click on this link for our yeast screening questionnaire. If you hit 140 or higher, there's a good chance that treating yeast may make a difference for you, all right? Number 7, treat your Lyme infection. Number 8, do the basic detox steps. And I talk about that here with a link to the Lyme detoxification article I talked about earlier tonight. Number 9, treat your co-infections. Number 11, exercise to tolerance. And then we give you some steps here to do 6 months or beyond if you're not getting any better, okay? So take a look here. Make sure you're doing all these essential steps. You need to do them to recover. Recovering from Lyme is not just about poisoning your germs. You need to go ahead and correct for all the abnormalities created by those cytokines and the stress of having the illness as well too. And those are, what I just described are the essential steps that I think is critical that anyone during their Lyme disease treatment should be doing, okay? All right, so Sherry, good luck to you. Hello, Nina. Let's see. You're welcome. Let's see. I can be feeling quite well. I attempt to shop in the supermarket within. What happened there? There we go. Let me try this again. Hello, Dr. Marty, and thank you for these webinars. I can be feeling quite well. I attempt to shop in the supermarket within minutes. I have freezing chills, nausea, intense weakness, urge to go to the toilet, and need to leave as so unwell. I then feel exhausted and unwell the rest of the day. Nina, I haven't seen something like that before. That's the kind of situation I probably need to ask you many more questions to find out more about the supermarket environment, what you might be being exposed to in the supermarket. Are you being triggered by the way that they keep some supermarkets super cold? There's a whole host of things I would need to know more about the environmental aspects of what's happening in that supermarket to you to be able to give you the best idea, okay? If you are interested, or if anyone is interested in getting additional help besides what I write in the Treat Lyme book, which again is a comprehensive resource. If you're wondering what to do, what would Marty Ross recommend? Read the Treat Lyme book, okay? And again, one thing about the Treat Lyme book and any of these recommendations I have tonight, I make these based on my own successful treatments and observations of treating this illness for 11 years, okay? So I've got quite an extensive history, and what I describe are the things I find that are helpful and that I find that work for people as well too, all right? So let me just show you something. I'm gonna do a screen share again here. If you're wondering what you can do and you feel you're not getting useful help on your own or with the help of your Lyme literate medical doctor, or if you're just looking for new ideas that you might share with your Lyme literate medical doctor, take a look at this resource called the One-to-One Medical Consult Service. You'll find it under the Online Consult tab, okay? So through this, I do internet-based visits using Skype to visit with people, to get your whole history, and to come up with treatment recommendations, okay? Now, with this service, I just want to make sure you understand one thing, and that is that I am unable to prescribe for you or order tests, but I do give you recommendations that you can take to your physician who can implement it, or a lot of the recommendations have an herbal nature to them too, and they're things you can do whether you get help from your physician or not, okay? Read through this to see if it is for you. I talk here about how it works, and that I do write documents for you as well as your physician. Look at the disclaimer section here where I basically say it's limited by the fact I don't lay hands on you. But what I want to let you know, there's increasing science that shows that visits where you don't examine a person over the internet are just as good as an in-person visit, okay? All right, so take a look here. This may be a way that I can give you some advice that you and or your physician can use to find ways to improve your care. Okay? All right. All right. Good luck to you, Nina. Let's see here. So I usually do not take a question twice from a person, but I'm just going to put this up real quick. This is I think Sue had asked this earlier. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. How do you feel about Lyme patients getting neck adjustments? Oh, I already answered that. I thought you had asked a follow-on on that. So I answered that. Let me get rid of that question. So I want to let everyone, I don't read these questions actually before I post them. I basically, if you see me fidgeting around over the side of the screen, is I'm trying to erase questions and then get ready to post the next one up, okay? So here's the next question. This is from Pat. Hi, Dr. Ross. My wife has RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis, everyone, parvovirus, and mycoplasma pneumonia. So parvovirus, everyone, is a virus that actually live in healthy people too. And just the fact that you actually have it as part of your Lyme does not mean it is a problem, okay? About 10% of healthy people have either HHV6 virus, something called Epstein-Barr virus, which is monovirus, cytomegalovirus, or parvovirus B19. Generally, my approach to the viruses is not to do anything about them until we're about 6 to 9 months into treatment. And if somebody's not getting better, I might start looking to see if they have one of these viruses, okay? The reason I don't do anything right away is often just by treating your Lyme, following all the steps I outline in the successful treatment recipe, that's going to be enough to turn your immune system on to put the viruses that live in even healthy people back under control of the immune system, okay? And I feel the same way about Mycoplasma pneumoniae, which is a bacteria that is common in healthy people as well too. In fact, I think a lot of my colleagues give too much attention to Mycoplasma and parvovirus. They're common. There's science that shows that they occur in about 10% of the healthy population, okay? But anyhow, those are my comments about that, all right? Let's see, she's been on minocycline Plaquenil for past year and improved greatly. The only thing, her knees get puffed up and the doctor draws out the water, but wants to put cortisone shot in also. I'm not crazy about this and asked if he could, let's see here. Got to find where the next part of your question is. If he could just draw the fluid out, okay? Pat, don't worry, I understand. It's a difficult situation not to hit enter when you're writing your questions, I know. All right, so about the fluid in the knee. So fluid in the knee means inflammation, okay? And even though your wife is feeling a lot better, it means that she's got some inflammation in there. If your doctor pulls the fluid off, the fluid is likely just to recumulate again. In the world of rheumatoid arthritis, doctors believe that if you inject steroids into the knees, it will decrease inflammation. And that's true and may limit the fluid from coming back. However, in the world of Lyme, it is not good to use steroids, even in the knee joints, because what that does is it suppresses the immune system, which allows Lyme to get more aggressive, and down the road can create even greater difficulties, okay? So I don't advocate that. And because you're not going to inject steroids, there really isn't any benefit of pulling that fluid off either, okay? What you need to do is focus on getting inflammation down in the joints. And one of the ways to do that is treat your germ, and you're doing that, your wife's doing that. Number two, get on the curcumin that I talked about, the Mariva 500, 1 pill 3 times a day. I mentioned it a number of times earlier tonight, okay? And then the last thing you want to do is try to fix the damage inside of the joints that can occur from having Lyme there, okay? So wherever two bones come together in a joint, the surfaces of those bones are covered by cartilage. And cartilage is smooth. It allows bones to glide over each other easily. It's also kind of soft and spongy. It acts as a shock absorber so that the bones don't hit each other aggressively, okay? Now, one of the problems that happens in Lyme is that Lyme, in trying to escape the immune system, likes to burrow into tissues that don't have good blood flow. So for instance, it likes to live on nerve coverings. It likes to get inside of muscle coverings and tendons. And from within there, because there's not adequate blood flow to those structures, including cartilage, the immune system can't get at it, okay? And inside your joints, Lyme releases enzymes that break down cartilage so it can burrow into it. Now, when your cartilage gets broken down in the joint, one of the things that happens is you can get bone rubbing on bone, which creates inflammation. So in addition to doing the curcumin in these situations, what I find helpful is to use something called glucosamine sulfate. Glucosamine sulfate is a supplement. It's a 500 milligram pill. You want to take it as 1 pill 3 times a day, and it is a building block for cartilage, okay? It helps rebuild cartilage. In general, if you're going to get benefit from it, you will notice that by 2 to 3 months. You need to give it that much time. You take it as 500 milligrams 3 times a day. There are a lot of garbage glucosamine products out there. Be sure, if you're going to do this as a trial to see if it works, I recommend a product by Thorne called glucosamine sulfate 500 milligrams, okay? Thorne makes what I call pharmaceutical grade supplements. In fact, a large number of the ones that we carry at our store, the Marty Ross MD, Terrabrook ND supplements, are Thorne. We think they tend to make some of the highest quality products out there, okay? So anyhow, that's what I would do, Pat. And good luck to you. Good luck to your wife, actually, I should say. All right, let me get rid of those. So Pat, I got to take time to get rid of your 2 questions. All right, let me go here. All right, let's see where we are here. All right, hello, Craig. Let's see, what do you think of hydrogen peroxide intravenous therapy? Does it work, help Lyme and the co-infections? Okay, so I really do not like hydrogen peroxide, ozone, anyhow, let me start over again. So hydrogen peroxide is a form of a treatment called an oxidizing therapy, okay? Oxidizing agents basically damage membranes. They'll damage your germ membranes, which is how they can kill, but they also damage our own membranes, okay? And that's where I have a problem with them. Other ways of doing oxidative therapy is to do ozone, and you can give ozone either IV, or you can do ozone, you can do rectal ozone. Another way to do high-dose vitamin C, oxidizing agents, is to use high-dose vitamin C. And by high dose, I mean 30 or 50 grams, okay? That's a lot. As you know, if you get vitamin C supplements, they usually come as a 500 milligram or 1,000 milligram. Anytime you get over 10,000 grams, usually you're going to get diarrhea from it. But when you get 30 to 50 grams of vitamin C, it turns into an oxidizing agent, okay? Now, in terms of my concerns about them, I'm concerned that in damaging our membranes, they create some long-term problems. I don't think there's a problem with using them maybe on a short-term basis, maybe for about 2 or 3 treatments, but I don't think we have any proof that long-term use isn't going to hurt a person. And I definitely do not recommend these treatments in a woman that is of reproductive age, because it could damage your ovaries, all right? Now, do I think they help? Yeah, I think they can help, but I don't think they're that successful. I think there's many other ways of going at this things that are more successful. I have seen people that have had them done get benefit maybe about 40 or 50% of the time, okay? Now, I know some of my naturopathic medicine colleagues, the ones that do these kind of infusions, will use these because they're trying to stay away from doing antibiotics and other harmful things. And they describe these as natural treatments, and they are natural, but they're caustic substances, and I think they may cause more harm than damage, okay? So I am not a big believer in oxidative medicine in this disorder, and that refers to high-dose vitamin C or hydrogen peroxide IV or ozone and either rectally or IV. There's another, anyhow, that's my feelings on that, okay? So good luck to you, Craig. All right, let's see here. Hello, Brenda. Hold on here just a minute. I gotta get a drink of water. Let me look at one thing here too, everyone. All right, let's see. I appreciate these webinars, and I'm glad you do. Let's see, I have Lyme and Bart. I am taking amoxicillin, probenecid, and Biaxin. The Biaxin seems to make my body tighten up, and I feel stress on my heart. When I walk for exercise, it causes a flare in arthritic symptoms and burning sensations. Is this from Lyme? All right, let me just talk about a few things about your question, okay? So first of all, everyone, amoxicillin is an antibiotic that is useful for treating spirochete Lyme. So many of you know that when you treat Lyme, you have to treat for 3 different forms of it. One is a spirochete, That is the thing that looks like a corkscrew that you see pictures of on the internet. There's another form of the germ that lives inside of cells, and that's called intracellular Lyme. And there's a third form that is called a cyst, or some people refer to it as a round body. We believe it is a separate entity, although some people believe it is just a part of the spirochete that broke away. And there's some research that's starting to look at what's the best way to go with that. But I still hold to the idea of using the older forms that I think are helpful here, okay? So when you treat, you need to address all three forms. Amoxicillin treats spirochete. Viaxin treats intracellular Lyme, and also can treat spirochete. You're not doing anything for cyst. Some of the newer research would suggest that amoxicillin can help with these round body cysts because they're really just pieces of the spirochete, okay? But I think that I don't know that that is fully supported with other research as well too, okay? So I still like to do something for cysts. I don't think you're doing anything for cyst right now. What does probenecid do? Well, probenecid keeps it so makes it so you don't pee out the amoxicillin as aggressively. Therefore, you build up higher levels, okay? I don't use it. I just give people more amoxicillin. So rather than using probenecid, instead of doing amoxicillin 500 milligrams, 2 pills 3 times a day, I might actually do 3 pills 3 times a day, or even 4 pills 3 times a day, okay? And I look at that as something called an IV equivalent. I think it can be as effective at that dose as doing intravenous antibiotics, all right? All right, so now, why do you get these symptoms on Viaxin? So the body tightening up and that feeling of tightness around your heart or stress could be a side effect of the Viaxin. And so the way you find out is stop it, see if those symptoms go away. If they come back when you resume, it's a Viaxin side effect, and I'd probably stop it and find something else that you can use to treat your intracellular Lyme or your with a different agent, okay? The burning sensations, I'm not quite sure why that's happening as whether it's related to the Viaxin or not. I would stop the Viaxin though and just see if it goes away, all right? So I want to do a screen share. I want to show you one thing here, which is the article that I wrote about how do you kill Lyme. And you'll find that in the section on infection treatment plans. And let's see here. Here it is. It's the article called Kills Lyme Germ, a Brief Antibiotic Guide. This is one of the free articles that we do have. So you don't have to actually subscribe to be able to read this article. And in here, I talk about the principles of how you treat Lyme. So one is you need to use 3 different antibiotics to treat all 3 forms of the germ. The other one is that you don't want to, I usually don't like to work with more than 3 antibiotics at a time. Finally, you need to make sure you're doing all the things you can to boost your immune system by following the successful treatment recipe, okay? In terms of which antibiotics do I use and how do they work, I lay that out for you here. So for instance, the tetracyclines like doxycycline, minocycline treat spirochete Lyme and L-form, which we also call intracellular Lyme. The clarithromycin Viaxin that you use is part of a family called macrolides. It also treats the spirochete and the L-form or intracellular Lyme, okay? Anyhow, you can look through here. You're going to see the various ways that I recommend treating things. And then in here, I also lay out some sample treatment plans, okay? So you can, number 3, like this third idea is you can use a macrolide plus grapefruit seed extract to treat all 3 forms of the germ. And then down here at the bottom, I talk about the fact that you can use, in my special considerations section here, I talk about doing IV equivalent treatments. And this is where I lay out the idea of doing amoxicillin at really high doses like I just described to you, okay? All right, let me go back here. All right, so I hope, Brenda and everyone else, I hope that gives you some useful ideas here. All right, let me go back here. All right, let me get rid of your question. Good luck to you. All right, let's see. I think your name is spelled, I know I may mispronounce your name. I'm sorry for this. This is a question from Saki. Would you recommend CBD paste or oil for long-term chronic Lyme? Thanks. So yes, I would. So everyone, there is so in Lyme disease, sometimes people can get help from medicinal marijuana, and marijuana has two active chemicals. One is called a THC, and there's another one called CBD or CBD oil. THC is what gives you the high, okay? And it's what comes from the bud part of the plant, the flowering part of the plant. CBD comes from the green parts of the plants, like the stems and the leaves. Now, you can get CBD oil. It will always have a little bit of THC in it, okay? I usually try to have people start with CBD oil first because it tends not to have the high part because it doesn't have THC. And if it is not successful enough at managing symptoms, then I'll have them try the THC, okay? And for some people, THC may do a better job of pain management. But what we see with the CBD and THC is that you can get an improvement of Lyme symptoms, okay? So it can help with the achiness, may give you some benefit on your energy, can help with nausea, for instance, okay? So it's useful for helping with symptoms. It may have some benefit at killing germs, but to be honest with you, and I'm in a state where we have medicinal marijuana, so I can use this, I can recommend it for my patients without any problems and they can get it. I don't find it to really be a good germ killer. I know that there's some of my colleagues out there that are starting to say they think it can, but maybe it's going to have to be at higher doses than what we're able to actually use it, okay? So yeah, I think CBD can help, and I like using it in the oil form. Now be careful, if you get CBD, you can find it on the internet, but that's CBD that's coming from hemp. And on the internet, hemp CBD may not be as useful as actually CBD that you can actually get from marijuana. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. Thank you, Jackie. Let me go ahead and post your question here. All right, let's see. Hi, your puppy children are beautiful. Thank you. I think Halo and Thor think that too. They think they're quite beautiful and handsome, actually. Let's see here. What are your opinions on the biomat for Lyme? Also, I know quality sleep is essential for Lyme patients. I have Lyme Babesia, maybe Bartonella for 23 years, no treatment yet. I have pain and fatigue for 3 to 4 hours after I wake up. When I sleep, just a few, let me hunt down your second part of your question there. Hours, these symptoms are not so severe. Of course, I am tired. Can you make any sense of this? Also, my mom, Francine, took the Western blot. Her CD57 numbers are 1.6 and 38. Doctor feels she had a tick-borne illness. What are your opinions? What is the next step? What should she take? Should she take the IGeneX test? Wow. Jackie, you've loaded a lot of questions in here, and unfortunately, I'm not going to focus on all of them because I want to make sure that I give everyone a chance here. I'm going to go back to the beginning thing that you asked here, okay? Let me go back and look at that. So let's talk about the biomat first. Okay, everyone, biomat is a device that uses infrared rays. You lay on it and also has some crystals in it as well too. I do think that people get benefit of it. I think it can be helpful in terms of detox, because when you use infrared rays, it can heat you up, which causes you to sweat, and some of the toxins will come out in the sweat. Okay, so I like the biomat. I think there's stronger ways to do the infrared detox though, and that's actually go into a far infrared sauna. All right, but yeah, I think the biomat can be something that is helpful. Let's see, and yes, getting sleep is essential. Regarding your mom, the CD57 can be low for a number of reasons. It is not unique to Lyme, okay? CD57, everyone, is a type of white blood cell that is low often in chronic Lyme disease. It seems to be low about 80% of the time. But again, viruses might make it low. In fact, we know one virus that does cause it to be low, and that's the HIV virus, okay? The AIDS virus, for instance, okay? So I'm not, I usually don't test for it. I don't think it really proves that we have Lyme. In addition, many of my colleagues will use it because they think if it rises over the course of a treatment, that it means treatment's working. There's been research that shows that's not true, that actually for most people, it's going to stay flat. It's not going to budge. It's not going to steadily increase until the end of treatment, okay? If it's going to go up at all. I don't find it to be a useful test at all, and I don't do it. I think the most accurate way from a test standpoint to see if you might have Lyme is to do the IGeneX Western blot. All right, so let me just do a quick share with you. I'm going to show you some information you may want to take a look at here, Jackie. And this would be for your mom as well, too. So first of all, in terms of how do we diagnose Lyme, it is not just about the test. And in fact, testing is only one of 4 things that we consider. All right, and so what you want to take a look at in terms of how to diagnose, there's the chapter called How to Diagnose. And in here is an article called How to Diagnose Chronic Lyme Disease More Than a Test. That's just what I said, more than a test, okay? This is a 15-minute video article. It's from a webinar that I did about how to diagnose Lyme a couple of years ago. It's still very current, okay? I'd encourage you and your mother to take a look at that. I talk about the best testing in that too, okay? Also, there is another article that I have, and you can find it in the test chapter, all right? And it is an article about a review of the Lyme infection test, pass or fail. All right, and in here I talk about ELISA testing, I talk about Western blot testing, I talk about PCR, something called an ELISpot, I talk about the Lyme disease blood culture, and oh boy, do I talk about the CD57 in here? I thought I did. It's a long article. Yep, I do. I talk about the CD57, and I link you to the article that I've written about that called CD57 Test Rarely. I really do not think it is a good test, okay? So anyhow, I hope those are some resources that you can look at later. All right, let me go back here. All right, Jackie, good luck to you. And good luck to your mom as well, too. Thank you for that question. Let's see. So this is from Natasha. I'm just going to read it. Hello, Doc Marty. Thank you again for this webinar and your treatment of my Lyme. Ah, Natasha, hi. Let's see. Mold and co-infections. Grateful for all you do for all of us. Well, thank you. I didn't realize that was you, Natasha, until I saw that. Thank you very much for that. All right. All right, so everyone, over my left shoulder there, that is Thor. That's my boy, Basenji, if you wonder what's been hopping around back there. He's getting more restless here. We'll see if he holds out for the remainder of the webinar here. All right, so this is a question from Sarah. Which antibiotic seems to be the most effective in getting inside muscles and joints for tightness and pain? So I don't find, in terms of muscles, I don't think there is any one antibiotic that is more effective about joint penetration than another. In terms of inflammation and getting into joints, I tend to prefer the tetracyclines like minocycline, doxycycline, and the macrolides like Biaxin, or Zithromax is a macrolide too. All right, so when we look at any antibiotic can be anti-inflammatory, okay? And in fact, one of the ways that antibiotics work isn't just by killing germs. The ways that antibiotics work is that they all have some anti-inflammatory properties. And when it comes to anti-inflammatory properties, based on experience, I think the tetracyclines are the strongest ones, okay? And then the macrolides are pretty close. They do a good job as well too, all right? So those are my thoughts on that for you. All right. Good luck to you, Sarah. Thank you for that question. All right. Hi, Jan. Let's see. Love your webinar. Thank you. What is your opinion about Rife machines and far infrared? Thanks, Jan. Okay. So let me talk about both those quickly. So first of all, Rife machines, controversial area. Doctors actually lose their licenses here in the United States. The FDA has come in, Food and Drug Administration here has even jailed physicians for doing rifing in their offices, okay? So what I want to let you know is that I legally cannot recommend them, so I'm not recommending them. But what I can describe to you is what happens to my patients who on their own, without my recommendation, decide to do them, okay? So what I see about rifing is that rifing helps about 60% of the time. Based on theory, the way that a rife machine will work is that a rife machine, everyone, creates an electromagnetic frequency that resonates with the covering of a germ and that can burst the germ. Much like you take a singer, and if you put a singer in front of a glass of water and they sing and they can resonate with that glass of water, they can burst it. It's the same idea with how rifing works, okay? Now, rifing, therefore, the way it works, rifing is probably effective against spirochete Lyme, because that's the form of Lyme that has a covering, okay? But probably is not useful against intracellular Lyme, and in theory, probably wouldn't do anything to treat the cyst form of Lyme, unless this new theory that some people are looking at, that cysts are actually break off pieces of spirochetes, in which case the cyst would have a covering that can resonate with, okay? But the big problem, I think, with rifing is you got to make sure that if you're treating, you probably still need to take something separate from rifing for your intracellular Lyme and even cyst Lyme. All right, so those are just some points I would consider with that. The other reason the FDA probably doesn't like doctors using these things and will jail them is that there are no human safety studies that have been done, okay? And then there's the whole conspiracy theory that says that the FDA is in cahoots with the drug industry, and the drug industry does not like rifing because it means they can't give out as many antibiotics if rifing really works, okay? So if you are looking for information about rifing beyond what I've just described, look at a book written by Brian Rosner. That's B-R-Y-A-N-R-O-S-N-E-R. He's written a book on Lyme and rifing. I think it's a very accurate resource about how to write. It's a good how-to book, okay? It's a good book about how do you start doing it. He's got some information in there about antibiotics that I don't agree with. And Brian and I have talked publicly a number of times. I actually talk with Brian periodically, so it's nothing against Brian. I just don't think he's got the right ideas, and he knows that. We respect each other for our different opinions there, okay? All right, then about infrared saunas. One more thing about rifing. If you are going to rife, I'd suggest getting a design of your machine based on something called a Doug coil, and that's Doug, D-O-U-G. The second word is coil, C-O-I-L. Doug actually is a gentleman from outside Seattle here in Washington State. And the Doug coil, literally, the frequency is generated by a coil of wire. That's why it's called a Doug coil. I think they're the strongest forms of rife as I've investigated rifing, okay? All right? All right, now, in terms of infrared sauna, I love infrared saunas, okay? So infrared, everyone, is a light source, a light ray that is from the infrared frequencies. Infrared rays, when they hit your skin, will deep heat you to an equal amount down to about 3 centimeters. In other words, 3 centimeters deep, it is as hot as it is on the surface of your skin. All right, you know how you stand in front of a window, a sunny window sometimes, and you heat up really quickly. That's infrared rays that are heating you up, okay? Now, when you do infrared saunas, it causes your blood vessels to dilate, which allows your antibiotics to go deeper into your tissues. That's one benefit. Second benefit is all that heating will cause toxins that are stored away in your body to move into the bloodstream. 80% of those toxins go to the liver where you can detox them out. 20% go out in your sweat. So you sweat out about 20% of those toxins, okay? And I think it can be helpful. If you are going to rife, start at about 15 minutes 3 times a week. And if you tolerate that, don't get all flared up from it, then you would want to go up to 30 minutes 3 times a week, okay? If you are rifing, you need to do some basic detox work though, right? And that is, you need to support your liver detox, and you need to make sure you're pooping to get the toxins out that get moved into the intestines, all right? So let me just show you a quick article that you can look at some of these ideas with more depth here later, and do a quick screen share to look at that. All right, here. All right, so we're back in the Treat Lyme book again. And go back to the chapter that we have on detoxification. All right, take a look here in the detox chapter about the article on far infrared sauna detox more than sweat. This is where I talk about, it's not just about sweating. There's a bunch of other stuff you need to do to support your liver and to move things out, okay? So take a look at this. I've written it all down. You can take a look at it later. All right, but it gives you many useful pieces about the steps you need to support your body in addition to just sweating when you detox, all right? Okay, let me go back here again. All right, so Jan, thank you very much for that question. All right, everyone. I'm actually gonna go ahead and stop the webinar here tonight. I've been fighting something here today, and I've just pooped out. So we've been able to do at least an hour and 15 minutes. I'm sorry I'm gonna be stopping it here a little bit early tonight, but I think I need to go home and take care of myself so that I can be back here helping my patients tomorrow. I've enjoyed helping you here tonight as well too. Tomorrow morning, look for the email from me that will have the recording of tonight's webinar. That email also will have links in it that you can use to sign up for next week's webinar. There will be one more after this, and then I'll take a week break, okay? Here in a second, as we leave the webinar, I'm going to take you back to the Treat Lyme book. When you get there, I'd appreciate it if you like the work we're doing here, if you'd support it by subscribing to the Treat Lyme book, and you're going to get a lot of great information out of the Treat Lyme book as well too. Also, when you go back to that website, you can use the webinars tab to sign up for next week's webinar as well too. All right. I apologize for having to end early here tonight, but I've been, for the last 15 minutes, I've actually just been running out of steam, and all my steam is gone. So I'm going to go home and take care of myself. All right. It's good visiting with everyone tonight. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.